Haven't watched this thing yet, but boy, would I love to for it. Um, let's just take a deep dive in. Now, would I love to have some of that for the investment committee inside of here? Sure. Well, let's get a zooming in, take a peek where I am. I have no choice on this planet to do anything other than to start from this vector position and act accordingly to change in base, up, down, strange, charm, top and bottom, photon and gluon, boson, for what it does. But let's take a look at the place. This is where it is. Pretty small little thing. Let me take it to a better point of view here. Let's get it right to the pitch that I'm selling on what I want to bring in, regardless of whatever nonsense I'm going to get into later. I start you right here because, again, right where I'm parked seems like a good way to do things. This is a free lot. This is a free lot. This is a gas station next to a charging station and other gas station right off the line. Other than serving it, it is Snowco and it's a parking lot and what to do with all this. That's the view of it. There's the gas station. It's a frank little place, or a quaint little place. There's a look around again farther down the road, a mechanic shop down there. Maybe not by Jiffy Lube standard, so that's something we could talk about buying out if that's ever an issue. If you're coming to an area like that for a Boone and Crockett fly fishing town notation, where I like this private business and what they do. I like what they reference and represent. With that said, how do you model just that little bit of extra on somebody else's property line if they don't want to give up the goes for it and there's no way to pay it and make it profitable to the notation? Now, mechanic shop, they're always pretty busy for the most part, backed up. There's some kind of line. And the more people I need or would bring back to this, which we're going to get to this other section before I get to the main map, just let me pop this back up here about what it is, again, in this regional area. It's a little bit, these are old pictures, so this is a really nice gas station. This is a charging station right here, but I watch them walking a lot, and where can they go? Especially with a blank building there about a flood code on some notation, that's come through. That's why when we originally had a big flood last time, that's why this went under, and probably because of insurance or other notations and things like that. But they could be built with new coded standards today based on the tech curve and some of those other lots about how useful this is. Now, again, when we get into the other Airbnb standards of how useful it is for certain construction sites, state buildings, DOT, or state building, and DOT, depending on how they do the village and the town and the state. It's a little small out here, and again, this land isn't necessarily the best of engineerings of what it is, but we really have an amazing school system that I can't second pounding beyond the brick buildings that they are, and how to deal with that residential that is a local issue, which is top of the hill. You're standing on it up there. You got most of the little things, some small businesses and restaurants, but you can clearly see some engineering issues if they were properly latticed into the situation to understand those Airbnb service cruise models for what they do based on the lease going up and down, or how you quantify malicious terminations or other parcel values in a freedom on the 7th about what it does for your models. And again, you can kind of tell, if you want to, my backyard is not the best developed thing as far as a landscaping set, as far as property George Henryisms. There's all kind. I can make a monster scrog out there and use this from the satellite's perspective to cover it, and use some of these other trees to block it, and just catch that light cone the way I like it. But hey, that's me. It takes a lot of special magnets and stuff to do that. Given that valley, if its topology is something I can't deal with. And by the way, that's like hard pan right there. That's a mountain. That is bluestone mountain quarry right there. That thing right there is probably like 40 feet, 30 feet tall. You can tell they're quarrying out some Vatican pieces out of this thing. Reasons. But for the most part, dirt bike, fly fishing gear inside here. We do have the one store and I'm probably running long. But I want to sell this thing. I want to be able to use those. For me, that's just land that I can't really use on that map for what you're doing, because it's just sitting there, and I mean, not really doing anything that serves. Which ones are this? So there's that. The steakhouse is over there. Gas station. And that's our library. Just a picture of it. Again, that's that lot. It's ready for stuff, but not necessarily stuff from where it needs to go while they're peeling out of wherever New York main city that you're going to do, because that would be the National Guard. It's time for you to get off of that and start one of those businesses. You got your $2 million, I don't give a fuck money, right? Your Navy, your system ready to do it up. Maybe you have to buy that parcel with it, or you want to do something with it instead of a nice little I think it's like a little tiny fly fishing lodge thing, which is fine. I'm sure Core's really, really good to the parcel map when you're dealing with some of this other stuff about, the yields jumping around. It was like 50 some percent or something. I don't remember which one it was, both of these. And I was prattling on about something nonsensical, I'm sure, that course to these ideas. It's a beautiful little park, out there. That's kind of what that lot looks like right there, looking into it, when you actually get up next to it. But it's certainly not a nice little bass fishing pond where I believe the hatchery is really doing anything with it, nor the science. I'm not saying the kids should walk from there to there with a highway, and that's a pretty steep hill, protracted models. And it's a nice little way to keep things, if you're ever going to take one of those lines and be able to develop out on them or something like that. Because given most of the map of the world, you got to ask, what am I missing as for potential when it's time to go somewhere, and where I decided to go as far as what it is. Now again, after 9:30 we shut down. It's for the most part pretty light. Only a very few facilities I've ever seen run around here on third shift. So, but for the most traction in the day, it turns,